Cause and effect. Thank you for your time. Welcome. This is David. Thank you. And I'm happy that you're here. Now let's look at cause and effect. This should be quite an interesting topic because we all talk about it. Cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. Let's see what A Course in Miracles has to say about cause and effects. You may still complain about fear, but you nevertheless persist in making yourself fearful. You persist. I have already indicated that you cannot ask me to release you from fear. I know it does not exist, but you do not. If I intervened, remember when it's saying I, you can, for the sake of yourself, use every time you hear the word I or we, again, Christ consciousness or Holy Spirit or the Creator, whatever you'd like. In the end, it will make very little difference, but originally the Course in Miracles was meant for you to take I or mine or me to mean Christ. Okay. Yet again, remember, it's not a Christian based course. It's universal. Anyways, if I intervened between your thoughts and their results, I would be tampering with a basic law of cause and effect, the most fundamental law there is. Yeah? So, you cannot ask to be released from fear. Remember, only from the conditions that from which that fear arose. Okay? I would hardly help you if I depreciated the power of your own thinking. This would be in direct opposition to the purpose of this course. It is much more helpful to remind you that you do not guard your thoughts carefully enough. You may feel that at this point it would take a miracle to enable you to do this, which is perfectly true. You are not used to miracle-minded thinking, but you can be trained to think that way. All miracle workers need that kind of training. I like it. Delicious and simple. I cannot let you leave your mind unguarded, or you will not be able to help me. Yeah? Miracle working entails a full realization of the power of thought in order to avoid miscreation. Remember what we said in the last topic? You have to realize how powerful the mind is, and it is just as an example, it can literally move a mountain like Mount Everest, just as an example. So you're hardly using a fraction of its power. Okay? So you have to fully realize the power of thought in order to avoid miscreation. Because remember, there are no idle thoughts. Every thought you have creates form at some level. Otherwise, a miracle will be necessary to set the mind itself straight. A circular process would not foster the time collapse for which the miracle was intended. Okay? The miracle worker must have genuine respect for true cause and effects as a necessary condition for miracles to occur. Okay? If you cannot have a genuine respect for cause and effect, the idea that every thought creates form at some level, every thought, and there are no idle thoughts. If you cannot have a genuine respect for that, then miracle making is just going to be, very difficult. Okay? Yeah? Miracle working entails a full realization of the power of thought in order to avoid miscreation. Very important. Keep that in mind. Both miracles and fear come from thoughts. Both of them. If you are not free to choose one, you would also not be free to choose the other. By choosing the miracle, you have rejected fear, if only temporarily. You have been fearful of everyone and everything. You are afraid of the Creator, of me, and of yourself. You have misperceived or miscreated us and believe in what you have made instead. You would not have done this if you are not afraid of your own thoughts. Okay? That last sentence is difficult to swallow, to accept, but like many other things in this course, it is starting to show you an idea. It's starting to take your mind somewhere it had never been. So at the beginning, it might not make sense, okay? Because it's foreign, it's alien, even you feel like rejecting it. But after you learn more and more and more about the nature of things, the nature of reality and all this, as a course teaches, nature of the mind and everything, then this will start to make sense. You would not have become afraid of the creator, of me, of yourself. You would not have misperceived us all, and you would not have believed in what you have made, believed in your projections. You would not have done all this if at the very root you're not afraid of your own thoughts. So that is a suggestion. Just hold it, carry it. You don't have to believe it right now. It will make sense. But it's an interesting thing to consider that you have not yet considered, isn't it? Even if you don't understand it now. The fearful must miscreate because they misperceive creation. Okay? Once you're in fear, you will misperceive creation, and because you misperceive, you will miscreate. That's normal. When you miscreate, you are in pain. The cause and effect principle now becomes a real expediter, though only temporarily. Okay? Actually, cause is a term properly belonging to God or the Creator, and his effect is his Son. In other words, us. We are the effect. This entails a set of cause and effect relationships totally different from those you introduce into miscreation. The fundamental conflict in this world, then, is between creation and miscreation. That is a fundamental conflict upon which all other conflicts are based. All fear is implicit in the second. All fear is implicit in miscreation, and all love is in creation. The conflict is therefore one between love and fear. I think we have all heard this before, but said in different ways, haven't we? It has already been said that you believe you cannot control fear because you yourself made it. Yeah? And your belief in it seems to render it out of your control. Yet any attempt to resolve the error through attempting the mastery of fear is useless. In fact, it asserts the power of fear by the very assumption that it needs to be mastered. The minute you think that you need to master fear, you're already giving fear more power. Remember, it's powerless. It's false evidence appearing real. Now, the minute you think you need to master false evidence appearing real, then you're actually giving reality to the false evidence appearing real, at least to your mind. The true resolution rests entirely on mastery through love. As in, you forget fear completely. You just, face the sun, face love. In the interim, however, the sense of conflict is inevitable since you have placed yourself in a position where you believe in the power of what does not exist. Nothing and everything cannot coexist. In other words, nothing, which is fear, false evidence appearing real, and everything, which is love, because everything real is love. Love is the fabric of creation, the very fabric. Yeah. So nothing and everything cannot coexist. So to believe in one is to deny the other. Fear is really nothing and love is everything. So once you believe in fear, you're denying love. Once you believe in love, you're denying fear because they cannot coexist. That is the simplicity of it. It has already been said that you believe you cannot control fear because you yourself made it. This is a repetition because it's very important. And your belief in it seems to render it out of your control. Okay? Yeah? Your belief in fear, you're afraid, you're like terrorized. Oh my God, I don't want to face that fear. Oh, I should escape it, I should run away. Seems to render it out of your control simply because you believe it. If you didn't believe it, you'd realize it's totally within your control. Yet any attempt to resolve the error through attempting the mastery of fear is useless. In fact, it asserts the power of fear by the very assumption that it needs to be mastered. The true resolution rests entirely on mastery through love. That I felt was important to repeat. And even more important, fear is really nothing and love is everything. Nothing and everything cannot coexist. To believe in one is to deny the other. Let's look at light now. Whenever light enters darkness, the darkness is abolished. Think about it. Every time you turn on your lights at night, automatically the darkness is abolished. Before the light went on, the darkness seems heavy. What you believe is true for you. In this sense, the separation has occurred. Because you believe in it, it has occurred for you. Remember, what you believe is true for you. So if you believe in the separation, then it will be true for you. You'll experience it. It will be realistic as as real as gravity or concrete or whatever. And to deny it is merely to use denial inappropriately. There's no point denying it. That's what they're saying. Okay? It is to use denial inappropriately. However, to concentrate on error is only a further error. The initial corrective procedure is to recognize temporarily at least that there is a problem, but only as an indication that immediate correction is needed. So you don't dwell on the problem. Just recognize the problem and move on. Don't sit on the problem. Don't start focusing on the fear or the error. Okay? Just recognize that there is an error and then move on. Because this establishes a state of mind in which the atonement can be accepted without delay. The minute you accept and confess, I have believed in separation. Yeah? I have realized I am holding on to an error. But I don't need to dwell on that error. I'm simply recognizing that I need correction. Okay? This already places your mind in a state where you can accept atonement. Okay? Just that. That's a great place to go to. It should be emphasized, however, that ultimately no compromise is possible between everything and nothing. No compromise is possible between everything and nothing. Remember what we said before? We repeated the slide twice. Okay? Nothing and everything cannot coexist. So ultimately, no compromise is possible between those two. Time is essentially a device by which all compromise in this respect can be given up. So you can use time in this way. Yeah? Use time as a device through which you are continuously giving up any remaining compromise that you might be holding between love and fear. It only seems to be abolished by degrees because time itself involves intervals that do not exist. Again, slow down. Time itself is a matter of intervals, yet time does not really exist. Time is an aspect of this world that we live in, and this world that we live in is a child of the belief in separation. It is the projection of that belief on a grand scale, on a scale that is unimaginable. And time and space came about because of the separation, or in quotes, because it didn't really happen. Now, therefore, time itself does not really exist. It's intervals that do not exist. Okay? Now, we've said that there is no compromise between fear and love, but you can use time to gradually give up the compromises. And it only seems that you're giving it up in time or in degrees, yeah, because of the illusion. But actually, ultimately, it actually is 1 or 0. It's either fear or love. Okay? It only appears that it's taking time and you're doing it in degrees. But in reality, there is no compromise. There is no degrees. There is no like, oh, today I'm halfway in fear and halfway in love. Tomorrow I'll be like 60% in love and 40% in fear, and the day after I'll move up to 80% love and 20% fear, and after a while, or after this 3 weeks or 2 lifetimes, I'll be at 100% love. No, it appears that way, but in reality there is no compromise. Okay? Miscreation made this necessary as a corrective device. The statement, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life," needs only one slight correction to be meaningful in this context. He gave it to his only begotten Son. Interesting, isn't it? Let's read that sentence again with the slight correction that the course recommends. For God so loved the world that he gave this world to his only begotten Son, which is you, us, the whole sonship, the whole of the fallen ones. Okay? Now, I've just said the fallen ones. I hope you do not take that to mean that I'm suggesting original sin or guilt. There is no guilt or sin in falling. Sin, in the original context, the original language, sin means without, sin, error. Like a font. You have font, let's say like serif and sans serif. Serif means, it's got that little thing here. If you've ever studied fonts, you realize that there are two types of fonts. Like I'm talking about handwriting, a font. Like a font, like Times New Roman, Arial, a font. There are two types of fonts. You have serif and sans serif. Sans means without the serif. So fonts have serifs and some do not have serifs. Sin comes from the same place where sun comes from, means without or error. Okay? It simply means a mistake. And the mistake is not that you annoyed the Creator, it's simply that you mistakenly believed that we are separate. Okay? So the fallen ones is not a way to imply guilt or requirement for punishment or, that unworthiness or in any way being a bad person. No, it doesn't. So I just wanted to correct that. Now let's keep reading. It should especially be noted that God or the Creator has only one Son. If all his creations are his sons, everyone must be an integral part of the whole sonship. The sonship in its oneness transcends the sum of its parts. Okay? The sonship in its oneness transcends the sum of its parts. It's like a bird. If you give a bird one wing, right wing or left wing, but only one wing, it will never fly. But the minute the two wings are together, they transcend. One wing each by itself is useless, or at least it will walk, but it's never going to fly. But when you put the sum together, they transcend. When you put everything together, it's way beyond the individual summation of all the individual parts. Okay? However, this is obscured as long as any of its parts is missing. So this greatness, greatness of the oneness is always obscured from us as long as any of its parts is missing. That is why the conflict cannot ultimately be resolved until all the parts of the sonship have been returned. Only then can the meaning of wholeness in the true sense be understood. Any part of the sonship can believe in error or in incompleteness if he so chooses. However, if he does so, he is believing in the existence of nothingness. The correction of this error is the atonement. I have already briefly spoken about readiness, but some additional points might be helpful here. Readiness is only the prerequisite for accomplishment. The two should not be confused. Readiness is not accomplishment. As soon as a state of readiness occurs, there is usually some degree of desire to accomplish, but it is by no means necessarily undivided. The state does not imply more than a potential for a change of mind. Confidence cannot develop fully until mastery has been accomplished. We have already attempted to correct the fundamental error that fear can be mastered, and have emphasized that the only real mastery is through love. Readiness, therefore, is only the beginning of confidence. You may think this implies that an enormous amount of time is necessary between readiness and mastery, but let me remind you that time and space are under my control. Remember, miracles collapse time and space. Yeah, so it might not take that much time, as much time as you think it needs. Now, if you remember a topic or two back, we talked about readiness. Readiness is simply willingness, as in you've said, okay, I'm willing, I'm ready, I'm open to this. Just that moment, and that's all. It is the only prerequisite for accomplishment. You don't have to do the rest through struggle. You will be assisted the minute you're ready. Once you're ready, the master appears. When the student is ready, the master appears. When the student is ready, not when the student has accomplished. When the student is ready, the master appears. When you're ready, the help just comes. The minute you open and accept and allow and you surrender and you say, I'm ready, it comes. So once again, thank you very much for your time. I hope this has been helpful to you. And so please go ahead and read the rest of the original text material again below and just find your own interpretation in your own silence. And I thank you and I'll see you next time.